You should be worried. They are thinking that. There's no question. They're thinking, when am I going to get a raise? If you as an employer do not set the tone up front with what is expected of you in the first 6, 12 months, 18 months, 24 months, in order for you to be able to get to X dollars or X commission or whatever it is, then you should expect that your employers are thinking like, when am I getting a raise? And at 1 year, they're thinking that.
I have a small business with less than 10 employees. We're coming up on approximately 1 year of all working together, and I'm scared they're all going to start coming to me for a raise. If you were me, how would you handle this? I'm nervous I'll start losing some of them.
Yeah, oh my gosh, it's so fun. I've been learning a lot about this lately. I've been reading a lot of articles. I wrote an article about asking for raises. You know, you should be worried. They are thinking that. There's no question. They're thinking, when am I going to get a raise? If you as an employer do not set the tone up front with what is expected of you in the first 6, 12 months, 18 months, 24 months, in order for you to be able to get to X dollars or X commission or whatever it is, then you should expect that your employers are thinking like, when am I getting a raise? And at 1 year, they're thinking that. At Christmas time, they're thinking that. Hands down, like you don't have to wonder, they're thinking that. So I'd say the first piece of advice I give to an employer is upfront, lay it out, let them know. If you don't know, figure it out, and then let everyone know, because they're all thinking that. Now, if you're in a position like this individual where you didn't do that and now you're caught, yes, they're probably thinking that. And yes, they're probably going to think that. And they're either going to come to you and put you on the spot and make you uncomfortable and either threaten you or quit because they found something better, because that's where they want to make more money, or they're not. And, you know, again, the worst thing ever is when an employee is too scared to come to their employer and then they just go find another job. Meanwhile, you need them. And that sets you back so much. So here's what I would say for any small business owner. And I was a small business owner for a very long time, and I get the gig. And I know it's harder to pay people more and give people more benefits when you're up against the big companies who are able to have so much resources and such big pockets to be able to do things for your employees. You have to find creative ways to go out of your way to incentivize your staff, especially a small staff under 10, to go above and beyond and run through walls for you. And the way to do that is to build trust, have a solid relationship, have fun, run contests, and do things out of the ordinary. Meaning you have to find creative ways to be an entrepreneur. You can't just be an entrepreneur, lead a team of 10, and expect them all to be so happy and be with you forever unless you're going above and beyond for them, so that hopefully there's a two-way street and they'll go above and beyond for you. They don't have nothing to earn. Like, they don't have to prove it. You have to prove it as the leader. I'll never forget one of the things I did that still to this day people have reminded me of. And I look back, it was probably one of the coolest things. And anyone can take this idea. I think it's a great idea. So I remember we had record months in the first quarter of every year. And everyone made more money. It was a commission environment. And 1 year, it was an off year. And we didn't do that great. And people didn't make that much money. And when they didn't make that much money, it was like it put a negative morale in this small team. And I probably had about 20, 25 people at this time. And I had to get creative in April, because April was the month after tax time. And that's when we had our big months. And I came up with this idea that I asked everyone to submit to me who in their life is the closest person in their life. And now, granted, I was close with my team, and it was a small team, so I could do this. So I said, who is the person who means the most to you in your life? So people gave me their spouse. I had some younger people give me their mom, their closest people. And I hand wrote a letter to every single one of those people without them knowing, without my employees knowing. And I was very specific about something that I love that meant a lot to me about that person. And I sent them out, and oh my gosh, like, you would have thought I gave them a $20,000 bonus. I had people coming into my office. I can't even tell you. I mean, I can tell you 10 years later, people still had the letter. And meanwhile, I was just some kid, and I was just coming up with ideas, what can I do? I generally like my employees, and I wanted to make them feel good. And I wanted their spouse, their mom, to know how much I appreciated them. And I got to tell you, it was worth more than a bonus. Maybe not to all of them, but I'm sure some of them would have wanted a bonus, but I couldn't give them a bonus. And I did that. And I always did things like that. I found ways to break through to my staff. And I'd hear the same thing from everyone, like, wow, I've never had a CEO who cared so much. And I genuinely did. I do. And I think as a leader, you have to go out of your way. And so this individual was asking this question. There's only about 10,000 things you can probably think of and to do a little different. You can find them any which way today. And I like incentives. I like accelerators. I call an accelerator something like, if we can hit X, I'll give you Y. But if we don't, I can't. So then there's a win-win, and I don't just automatically lose the employer. And the last thing I'd say on this that I think is really important, it's so easy as an employer and as a leader and a manager and a supervisor, if that's your role, to share good news. It's so easy to call a huddle and to high five your teammate for breaking records. And we got a client and we did all this great stuff. It's another thing to call a meeting because we just lost our big client. We just caused a lawsuit. We just lost half our business. And I think strong leaders, they're able to communicate the good news and the bad news, and they don't shy away from it. They don't hide. And I think employees will respect that. And so if I was in that person's shoes and my business wasn't doing so well and I couldn't give out raises, I'd be proactive. And I'd say, look, guys, I'm in a position right now where our company's not doing that great. So I want to put something in play, and I would turn it into a positive. And I'd say, as a team, if we can do X, if we can reach Y by this time frame, I'm taking everyone out to dinner. Everyone's getting $1,000 bonus. I don't know whatever it is that you can do. And I think you give people something to chase down, and you'd be surprised when you put that carrot out there, what people can do and what they're willing to do. I used to have employees that get so mad at me. Like, why do you always have to do contests people to do things what they're paid to do? I'm like, because it works. It works. So I want contests running every single month because people like to be incentivized. So why wouldn't I not do that? And you would not believe. I had like everyone against me in my office. Like, you shouldn't have to pay them that. It's their job. I'm like, but they do more. They're getting more, and they like it. So like, why wouldn't I do that? And I don't know. I just had that.
What was their main reason against it?
Because why are you paying someone? Why do you have to run a contest for someone to do their job? And I can.
And your argument is it pays for itself and much
I'm
more.
saying because they'll do their job better.
Right.
Look, I'm a very competitive person. I mean, competitiveness is in my top 5 in my strength finders. I like to win. And so you put out an incentive for me, watch out. Look, when I first started my company, my partner gave me, he said, go out and get clients. I had 100 clients in 6 months. I hustled. You have a desire. I mean, look at what you and I are doing with Restart. We have goals that we do for what we want to create value-wise and with technology and the AI tools. Look how quickly we got things to market. Look how quickly we have people applying on, online through our career advisors, taking our digital resume, using AI to create a digital resume from a hard copy resume. Like, I like to win, and I like to be incentivized, and I like to incentivize others. And I think it's human nature. Like, why wouldn't you? And if you're an employer, it's a nice thing to be able to do that. And so you want to protect yourself when you do it. So that's why putting out what I call an accelerator means I'll give you X, and here's your commission plan. But if you can hit Y, I'll get more. And you give them that to go chase. I did this with open schedules and flexible schedules. I used to feel guilty about leaving my office, coming and going whenever I want. In the collection industry, you have hard hours. So I told my top collector, if you can hit 100,000, and I gave them a certain time period of time to collect, I said, you get flexible schedule and you can earn that for your team. And it led to the entire company having open schedules. And,
and that was like for what, permanently or? Yeah. Wow. Yeah. That's a pretty big incentive.
Yeah. And guess what? People now can go to the first day of school for their kids and not have to worry or take PTO time. People, people want to sleep in because they're not a morning person. They want to come in at 10 and work from 10 to, I want people working at their best. Look, we need to do our due diligence as employers and get your business covered. But today with everyone working remote, and you have hybrid and you have technology, and there's a lot that can be done flexible. And I think any employer who's driving their employees, you can expect to lose those employees. They're looking.
How do you generally feel as an employer about remote work and the trend towards remote work?
It's a problem. I love it for myself. So I did give it, but I will tell you this. I worked extremely hard to build the best company culture that I could possibly do in and we were blessed. I mean, we had best place to work ranked number one, 2 different times for a decade, every year. And it was an anonymous thing. The employees really loved working there. And again, I joke around, and Jeff can probably appreciate this. People don't wake up and say they want to go work at a collection agency. So we had to do things to be creative, to have fun, and to incentivize them, and to create team and trust and find that flow as a team. When COVID hit and we sent everyone home, it changed the dynamics of my entire company. Now, granted, I went home too. And I kind of passed the leadership, pull over to someone else because I was doing Restart, but it never got back to it. And so that's why you see right now in the news, in the media, everyone's pulling, get employees back, get people back, because out of sight, out of mind, it can really tear a culture apart. Culture is built by building trust. At the heart of performance, your team, your company is trust. And if you don't have that, the opposite is sabotage. And so every employer and every manager and supervisor, they have a responsibility to build strong relationships, build trust by getting your ratios right. We always say 5 to 6 to 1, meaning like 5 to 6 good positive touches to 1 negative feedback that I got to tell you. Don't sandwich it. And, catch people doing good things. You catch them doing good things so that when you do have to go and I have to hit you in the head with like, hey, you screwed up, it's not the only time you've ever heard from me. You know what I mean? No one wants to hear that. Oh, great. Jacob wants to talk to me. Now what? Because I know what's coming. And, employers who do that, like, they're so busy, and they are busy, but like, you got a responsibility. If you have a team, you got to build that team. And employees who are working remote, I say it's on them too. They have to take responsibility to stay connected. That means document things, give it. If I'm reporting to you, Jacob, and I'm working remote, for anyone who's working remote, this is my advice. I'm the employee, Jacob's the employer. On a weekly basis or bi-weekly basis, I am sending Jacob a list of the things I'm working on this week, what I accomplished this week, what I'm struggling with this week, what he can expect to see from me next week. And then at the bottom, no response required, no response needed. I'm doing this just so you know and staying connected to you. And when you're in that leadership meeting, what's everyone doing? I have no clue. I don't hear from anyone. Well, Chad sends me a note let me read you what he wrote me. This guy's unbelievable. Like, that's what they're saying in those leadership meetings. So I'd say stay connected and don't wait. They say no news is good news. It's not. It's not. They're talking about you, and they're not talking about you positively. So remote's tough. It's tough.
Yeah. Yeah, I heard Elon Musk recently in an interview talking about it. He is not a fan at all, and he was actually making like a moral argument against it, saying that it's immoral, which was really interesting to hear.
You know what? At the end of the day, people take advantage.
Yeah.
And it's not even their fault. I'm at home. My wife comes in. I stop working. Like, I'm just my kids. Like, and I have to tell you, here's one misconception that people forget, and it's a good reminder for everybody. People used to walk in my office and they'd have problems going on. They'd say, Chad, they would tell me that I'm leaving it at the door. I'm like, no, you're not. Like, this is your life. You can't leave it at the door. And when people walk out of the door every night or they log off from home, everybody's living a different life. Everybody's struggling with something. And you have no clue what they're struggling with. There's emotional abuse, physical abuse, depression. I mean, you could go on and on. And here's what I'd say. You got to be responsible for your own problems. They say you don't want other people's problems. I heard someone say that if you threw everybody's problems in the middle of the room, you'd go grab yours. You don't want other people's problems. And I remember I used to always remind myself that when people go home, we're not family, we're a team. And everyone's going home to something different. And so I think that's a good reminder for everyone is that, some people's environment at home is not conducive to working. And if they're working from home and it's not such a great environment, that could be a big red flag. And I would say if you're an employer and performance starts to drop, communication starts to kind of tap into it right away. Do not wait, address it and get ahead of that, because it's not going to get better. It's not going to get better. The problem is people got comfortable working from home and now they don't want to go back.
Yeah, it's interesting to think about the dynamics of it too. Like, as you were saying, that your wife comes home, my fiance just pops into the door too, like whenever. And if you think about that, it's not like dropping into an office. I mean, it is at home, but you wouldn't just do that at a workplace if you were in the office, right? And there's
Right.
something about, at least from her perspective, I think there's something about like it doesn't feel like you're at work, kind of,
Right.
right?
Right. 100%.
Yeah,
And the problem with that is that like when you're at work, you're on.
yeah,
You sit down at your desk and you're on, and you're almost a little insecure. The boss is walking by. You're kind of like, you're very careful.
right,
We did a video and I said everyone's living three different types of lives.
right,
You got to know which life you're living. It's the public life, the private life, and the secret life. Public at work, private at home, secret behind closed doors. And I think there's something to be said about working at home in your private house. And all of a sudden, I remember I'd be in these Zoom meetings, and all of a sudden their camera would go off. I'm like, where'd they go?
right, right.
Like, what's going on? Like, did you just literally like it'd be in a meeting, just like walking out the door? Like, what are you doing?
Yeah,
And look, I mean, you don't have to be a rocket scientist to know that, like, people are not going to be able to work as hard unless you're weird, strange in a good way. Like, I work really hard from home, so like,
right.
but I know I'm weird, so like, I embrace it. Like, I get more done. So I don't know. I think everyone needs to know their tendency, and if you know that your performance drops because you're working from home, go back to work.
Yeah,
But it is powerful to be able to work anywhere around the world right now.
it is. Yeah. You know what though? It's so last year, as you know, I went to Mexico and did a month just working on my own, and it's doable. I just had my laptop, I got an Airbnb and had good internet, but it's tough. Even if you work from a laptop and can work anywhere, just not having a space that you can go to regularly that's your own it's tougher than I thought it would be. You remember I had great internet, but I was in a town when there were these roosters in the background that were going off constantly, and that was distracting, and like a whole bunch of things that come up that is more
Right.
difficult than one would guess.
Yeah. 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 So it's a real challenge. And it's why you see so many articles right now in the media about employers trying to get everyone to come back. And, like Elon Musk, he sets that fire because he gets everyone thinking about it.
Yeah,
And in my case, like, I remember thinking like, we got to get everyone back. Like before the culture is just completely, I mean, I worked my tail off to try to build this thing. And like all of a sudden overnight, sent everyone home. And like, we never work from home.
yeah.
Next thing I know, 90% of my office is working from home.
I wonder how much, if anyone's done a study. I mean, like quiet quitting wasn't a thing before. I feel like that appeared in the last, however many years, and it also feels like something that would be much harder to do if you're really connected with people in real life inside of an office.
Look, at the end of the day, people are out for themselves. They are,
Yeah,
and I think as an employer, you can assume people are looking for other opportunities. They're looking to be paid more. There's probably someone who can pay them more. You have to be ready and be prepared to lose people and get ready to replace them and be ahead of that game and have a strategy in place. And I think from a job seeker's perspective, I think you're doing yourself an injustice by not always looking. That's why I love what we do at Restart, because you can stay a member of Restart for free and have your dashboard filled with jobs whenever you want, and just always keep your eyes and ears open. And you should until you find something you love, because I believe that everyone should work at a place and do something that you enjoy. I just do. I believe that. And I think it's possible. I think people scare themselves. They think it's not realistic. They say things like, oh, there's no way I can make money doing what I love. And it's just not true. They haven't worked hard enough to figure out what that is and how they could do that. But I have seen so many people do it, and I'm doing it. So I think the most important thing is, if you're not, you can make changes, and you have to be smart. People say, should I quit first? I'm like, no, don't quit.
right.
Doesn't mean you look. And if you're working from home, geez. But I also am really big on not stealing time from your employer.
Right.
So I think everyone has to kind of grapple with those ethics,
Well, that's it for this week. I think those are all the questions. Anything else you're thinking about?
I don't know. It's good questions, and keep them coming. And hopefully people will join our community so we can kind of have more of these discussions. And my goal is to get people on here live, firing questions away with us in the live stream. So hopefully we'll be able to kind of kickstart that as we launch more nationally and build up the community.
Awesome. All right. Well, thanks for watching, everyone. See you again next week. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.